Hi, my name is Darragh Paradiso, and I am the U.S. Consul General for Eastern France. I'm based in Strasbourg. It brings back a lot of fond memories because it's such a beautiful place when you arrive. You realize how special it is and how much history there is. And I think for Americans in particular, that's really striking to see buildings that were built in 14 something, or a cathedral that was built even earlier. I had an excellent introduction to the Grand Est region when I arrived, because I arrived in the middle of COVID. And I had to quarantine first in Strasbourg at my house. But as soon as that was over, I actually had to drive to Paris for meetings. So I drove across the entire region. I had just had an economic briefing from one of my colleagues, and as I drove across the region, I could see what I had been told about the industry and working here. I could see the universities, the industry, some of the historical sites, and then farm country, vineyards, and just all the different ecosystems that are here, which was really very cool. What I didn't expect in this part of France, where it's mostly smaller cities and smaller towns, I didn't expect to find such an amazing international community. One of my very favorite things about being based in Strasbourg is that it's a city that's on a very human scale. You can walk almost anywhere, you can bike almost anywhere, and yet at the same time you have an amazing international community because of the European institutions here and the university. So you have international scholars, you have diplomats in 75 different countries' missions here, people coming in for the EU Parliament and the Council of Europe. So I also find that and the situation right on the border makes people very open-minded and particularly kind and patient about those of us who are still learning French. One of the best parts of my job as Consul General has been discovering new links between this region and the United States. It happens every few weeks. It's amazing. Things just keep coming. You know academically that France is our oldest ally, and France helped us in our War of Independence. We came to France during the World Wars in a time of need. But those ties, that shared historical experience and the shared values, it has really, over the years, evolved into connections in so many different ways. So scientific research, exchange programs, sister cities, cultural exchanges. Boston and Strasbourg have been sister cities for more than 60 years. It's a very active relationship. Cincinnati is twinned with Nancy, and Princeton with Colmar, and there are many more throughout the region. Those are a few of the big ones. And then you also see on the business front, you see companies going both directions. So Timken came here in the 1960s, and a lot of other big industrial companies. That's evolved over time. Now we have everything up to tech companies, and going the other direction as well. I think we've made an influence here as well. You see some fundamental American culture when you see the second largest M&M's factory in the world, just 12 miles north of Strasbourg. And then finally, there's all kinds of other cultural ties, the influence of basketball here. Strasbourg has a great basketball team, and actually an NBA player comes from here. So there's a lot of interesting connections to be made. The Amish came through here. The first mention of naming North America was actually published in a book in Saint-Dié back in the day, and it's now at the Humanist Library in Selleschad. So all kinds of connections. So the commercial and trade links between the United States and Eastern France go back many, many years, actually centuries. But most recently, there was a big investment of US companies in this area in the 1960s and going forward. And it's been really interesting to see how that relationship has evolved from more heavy industry and automotive parts to now research collaboration, medtech, biotech. Of course, there's also agricultural trade and all kinds of other work going on. At this point, there are more than 200 US companies who are based in this region, and they employ more than 23,000 people. And it's a huge market. The US is a good market, a good export market for this region. And frankly, this is also a great export market for the US. People like US products here and are very interested. And I think that trade relationship is one that's remained strong over time. and with trade going both directions. And unlike some other places, the trade keeps evolving with time and with the areas, with the needs, and with the world. So it's wonderful to see where it's going, and I hope it will stay just as strong in the future. When I talk to Americans who live here, one of the things they always mention is quality of life. And it is an incredibly beautiful region. We're lucky to be bordered by 4 other countries, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, and Switzerland, which for an American, when you come from this big expanse in the United States, and you can drive for hours without leaving your own state, it's a very different outlook. Sometimes I go grocery shopping in Germany on Saturday morning, and then I come back in the afternoon. So totally different experience. So geographically, it's a great place to be. Plus, there is really beautiful nature and history. I come from a part of the United States that is very interested in biking, and I've found that to be really satisfying here because they also have a big bike commuter culture. But really, if you're interested in quality of life, being able to get outdoors but also have a cultural scene, this is a great place to be. Having seen the long history of commercial cooperation and ties between the United States and Eastern France, I really hope that both French and American companies will continue to exchange, to compete, to work together, to share, to collaborate on research, to encourage investment in both directions, to encourage exports in both directions. Both systems have great strong points, and I think we have a lot to learn from each other.